2025 Imola Grand Prix race notes. Friends, I watched the race, but I haven't had the opportunity to compile my thoughts, and this week is packed for me. My apologies. I hope you'll agree with me that Dick does a great job analyzing the race, so please enjoy Dick's race notes.
Well, hey everybody, welcome back. It's time to talk about last weekend's race at Imola. Thought it was a really fun and interesting race. Thought there was a lot of things that happened in the race because Pirelli brought a new soft compound tire and made last year's soft compound tire the medium, and last year's medium became the hard. And so this really threw the race into a really interesting kind of situation where it became pretty obvious that the softs really were not going to last very long. They were just too soft. And so we saw it with Aston Martin, for example, in qualifying. They didn't qualify on the soft tires. They qualified on the medium tires because the tire retained its grip and was more consistent over the course of a qualifying lap. And so that made for some interesting dynamics in qualifying. The other thing that happened during the race, of course, everybody was running either the mediums or the hard tires, and several teams opted for a one-stop strategy, but several of the teams wound up going with a two-stop strategy because there was a virtual safety car and then a regular safety car to remove cars that had broken down on the side of the road, most notably the second time with Kimi Antonelli, whose Mercedes ground to a halt. And so while the timing of the regular safety car, the second caution session, was okay, the timing of the virtual safety car session really caught a lot of people off guard, and it really screwed up people's strategies, which then gave us a very interesting race. A couple of points about this race is, Imola is one of the real classic circuits, right? It's very fast, it's narrow, it's got quite a bit of history. Of course, some of that history is not so good. That's where Ayrton Senna was killed. But it is a fast, old school kind of track that the drivers love, the fans love, and yet it's not contracted for 2026. And based on what I'm reading, we may or may not see Imola again on the schedule, and if we do see it, it's going to only be as a circuit that hosts a Grand Prix on a rotating basis. They'll find, maybe 2 or 3 tracks that are willing to host a Grand Prix every 1 or 2 years, and by doing that, more fans get to try out different tracks and that sort of thing, which, I can kind of see that program. F1's got to go where it can make the most money, and it's in a business. But at the same time, as a purist, kind of hate to see Imola go away. But regardless, a lot of the races in recent years have been fairly processional. This one was not. I thought this one was pretty entertaining, even though there's no question Max Verstappen put on a masterclass once again, and he really took it to the McLarens. He qualified second. They dropped the green flag, or the lights went out, whatever you want to call it. Start of the race, goes down, basically hangs with Oscar, going through the first corner on the outside of Oscar, and of course then he was lined up perfectly to be on the inside of the next corner. Put Oscar behind him, he got into clean air, and Max was gone. McLaren was fast, but at the end of the day, Max just had him covered. I mean, that's all there was to it. And it makes you really wonder is it possible that because of the battle between Piastri and Norris, is it possible that once again, the World Driving Championship could get thrown away by McLaren early on in the game? I think the way they're going, they're probably hands down favorite to win the Constructors' Championship, but I really wonder, is that intra-team rivalry between Piastri and Norris going to trip them up over the long haul and prevent them from winning the World Driving Championship? Whereas with Red Bull, they're just focused on Max. If Yuki can score points, great. But if he can't, that's okay too. We're going to win the World Driving Championship. So I don't know. It ought to be really interesting. Ferrari had a weird weekend. They did not do well in qualifying. They didn't even make it out of Q2. And yet in the race, they came back. They were very racy. Their race pace was very good. Hamilton did very well. Made a great recovery from a poor qualifying. And he said that on Sunday, he finally felt connected to his car, which if that feeling continues, that's going to bode well for Hamilton and maybe not so well for some of his competition, even though I don't think the Ferrari is the best car out there. In the meantime, Williams just continues to impress. Both drivers, Sainz and Albon, finished in the top 10. They were scoring useful points. Albon, for the longest time, was running in the top 3. And, just a really solid performance. And, of course, Albon has been Mr. Consistency this year. And I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that he's being pushed so hard by Carlos Sainz. So that's been an interesting to watch. You also have to wonder, though, on the flip side of that, what on earth has happened to Mercedes? They've had a couple of races now where they've been kind of less than stellar. And of course, in his own, home race, Kimi Antonelli broke down, didn't even make it to the finish. And he had a big contingent of family and friends and even classmates were at the track to cheer him on. And, of course, he didn't make it to the finish. So, I don't know. The last couple of races seem like they've been kind of rough for Mercedes. It'll be interesting to see if they can turn it around anytime soon. Maybe they've got an upgrade package coming to, like, maybe Barcelona or something like that. Speaking of upgrade packages, Aston Martin brought in an upgrade package. It's not the complete upgrade package. The remainder of the package is supposed to come in time for Barcelona. However, in free practice 1, 2, and 3, it looked like maybe Aston Martin was a little bit more competitive, but then in qualifying, both cars got into Q3, which was amazing, and Alonso was desperately unlucky not to have scored any points, but that virtual safety car and how it was timed and all that pretty much screwed his race. He had been running, I think, about 4th or 5th, and he pitted, was down in about 15th, something like that, which is about where you'd expect him to come out. And right then the virtual safety car came out, and so he had already made a stop, but everybody else who had not made a stop came in, and instead of spending 28 seconds on pit road, which is about how long it takes to enter pit lane, drive to your pits, change your tires, and then go back out to the acceleration point at the end of pit lane. It takes, usually in race conditions, it'll cost you about 28 seconds. But in the virtual safety car, it only costs those guys 18 seconds. And so that extra delta of 10 seconds that Alonso was counting on never materialized. And so it really put an end to his race and his strategy. He wound up making a second stop. And once he had that done, towards the end of the race, he was quite fast and picked up, I think, probably 4 or 5 places. But he just missed 10th place by just a few tenths of a second. Yuki Tsunoda took the final point. So, but it might portend well for Aston Martin going forward. And like I say, if this upgrade package continues to impress and then be improved in Barcelona, my hopes are high for my boy Fernando. So let's see what happens. We'll know here in another 2 weeks. And last but not least, not related to the F1 race, but to the F2 race, the friend of this podcast, Jack Crawford, won the F2 sprint race at Imola, which is amazing. Congratulations to Jack. It is so nice having an American competing in Formula 2 and showing well. Fingers crossed that he gets that second seat at Cadillac. So that's my race notes for this time. We've got Monaco coming up in 1 week. We have Barcelona coming up in 2 weeks. So this is the first of a triple header. It's a good time to be an F1 fan. Until next week, we'll talk soon.